Right, so I'm a Customminer or GRC tester on GitHub. I'll be talking about Gridcoin today. So just a bit of personal history about like my experiences with BOINC and stuff like that. So I first encountered BOINC when I was like, I don't know, maybe 12 or 13, when my dad was running, SETI, the screensaver. I wasn't into computers back then, and thought it was really cool, being able to like search for aliens and stuff. It was pretty neat. I got seriously into BOINC in about 2014. After Gridcoin's release, I ran a 6 kilowatt cluster of like second or really like fourth hand like servers. I got off like BOINC forums and stuff. Half of them broke, but it's another story. I began developing the Gridcoin website when I was working at Hewlett Packard. Just in my spare time when I had a bit of downtime, so I wasn't bored. After leaving Hewlett Packard, I dedicated most of my time towards Gridcoin and BOINC and stuff like that. And began working on Gridcoin related projects, not just the web development stuff, organizing the community. And at the beginning it was a very small, tight community, and now it's grown quite significantly. So we've got thousands of members, and one problem we've got is like all of our users split over like 10 different communication channels. So you got to send notifications everywhere, but people are always online. It's pretty cool, and it's a bigger community now. So we hold teleconferences called Hangouts on Mumble. It's similar to like TeamSpeak. We've held 38 Gridcoin Hangouts. They range from like an hour to like 4 hours long. So if you want to hear us drone on about Gridcoin, tune in. We've also held like 8 BOINC interviews with project admins. I think Erkan was the guy that actually did the interviewing. I just listened in to most of them. But those are pretty interesting. I think you like them the most. The Gridcoin stuff's very niche towards Gridcoin. That's mostly towards BOINC related stuff. And currently I'm studying a master's in data science part-time. So I've just completed my first year there, and the rest of my spare time I dedicate towards like cryptocurrency projects within the Gridcoin and the BitShares networks. So that's what I do. So what's Gridcoin? It's a cryptocurrency similar to Bitcoin, except it rewards BOINC computation in a decentralized manner. So there's not a single person that's got like all the coins and hands them out, similar to like, that's how CureCoin and Folding Coin work, I think, maybe specifically Folding Coin. So yeah, it aims to help offset people's electricity bills and retain users. The reality is that electricity costs money, and I'm sure many of us have had large electricity bills in the past. Like that, the 6 kilowatt cluster I had was like £600 a month I was paying at the time, which is pretty crazy. It was fun at the time though. So yeah, it launched in late 2013 by Rob Halford. It was originally using the script consensus mechanism. That was chosen because at the time it was, you could use CPUs and GPUs to create blocks, but then we had to migrate to proof of stake because of ASICs, which are dedicated hardware, that can crunch, blocks really easily, and we faced potentially having like, a single person mining every single block, to which it would no longer be decentralized, and there's fear of like, attack. So, that was, late 2015, we made that switch over. I was a bit upset about that because I bought an ASIC, but on the other side, it caught fire, so probably it was a good thing, that we moved over. So yeah, Gridcoin, Team Gridcoin specifically, I think in 2015 we started doing the Formula BOINC stuff, the competition. We registered, I think we came like maybe 8th, and then 2016 we came first, which is pretty cool, and then this year we've continued to increase our lead by another 25%, which is pretty decent. With regards to like BOINC stats, non-ASIC related statistics, we're first for recent average credit, and we're second for total credit, so that's historical credit. And I think in about 2 weeks' time we'll be first for total credit as well, so that'll be fun. We'll celebrate that. So how do you earn Gridcoin? So there's 3 methods of earning Gridcoin. If you just want to invest, you can you buy some Gridcoin and then you can stake blocks and earn interest. Basically, it's 1.5% over the year if you stake continuously. If you want to earn Gridcoin for your BOINC computation, you can either do it on your own through solo crunching or solo staking, which requires that you actually have a balance of Gridcoin, right? Which is a bit offsetting, it potentially off-puts new users coming in, but that's something we're trying to get over in the future. But yeah, basically.
Quick question. Where does the 1.5 come from? Is that just chosen by the Gridcoin developer?
That was just we had, when we switched from proof of work to proof of stake, we changed the economic variables. So we reduced the amount that was being output because, with the old system, we were having a huge interest rate, which effectively would make it worthless. So, if you bought £100 worth of Gridcoin, it'd be worth less the next year or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, these economic variables can change with sufficient network consensus. It would require a hard fork and stuff, So yeah, with solo crunching, when you stake a block, you get your rewards for BOINC on top. So I'll explain how we actually track statistics. We create a daily super block which contains the BOINC statistics for our registered users. You register your CPID, and we will. Go ahead.
Can you step back and maybe define some of the terms? Like, what is a block?
A block is, right, so a block contains transactions, right? So everyone is trying to create the next block in the blockchain, yeah? And when you solve the calculation with proof of work, you create the block, you verify transactions, and then everyone moves on to trying to create the next block. So in a decentralized manner, you create this is difficult to explain, but it's worth looking into Bitcoin because it's very similar to it, basically we all try and create blocks one after another, and they contain transactions. There's nothing else really to it apart from how you create the block, whether it's proof of work or proof of stake, just how we all...
Computationally intensive to make a block?
With proof of work, yes. With proof of stake, no. It's dependent on how many coins you have. The more coins you have, the more frequently you will stake a block. It increases your odds of staking. So the more coins you have, the greater the frequency you can access your BOINC rewards. When you register your CPID, when you next stake a block, we will take the time difference and reward your BOINC statistics. Between that time, and then from that point onwards, it's between each block that you stake that we track your old rewards, and you get your interest and then your BOINC rewards on top. If you don't have wanting to invest to go solo, which it does require a few thousand Gridcoin, which is a couple hundred pounds, you can use the pool, which is is open source. It's grcpool.com, so you don't need to invest, and it will stake on your behalf and distribute out your rewards with a small fee. The downside of using the pool is that you give up your your statistics that are being tracked on BOINC Stats and all the other community statistics websites. It's only tracked on the pool website, and so you kind of give up your identity on BOINC to a certain degree. And you can only earn Gridcoin within Team Gridcoin. That's primarily why we've risen in the team ranking. So Gridcoin's future, where are we going to go from here? So we're hopefully going to work towards removing the mandatory team requirement. I mean, it was in place primarily because people were earning, multiple tokens, from different systems. Like Ripple at the time when Gridcoin was initially released was, distributing tokens to, I think, World Community Grid users and stuff. And Rob didn't like that, so it's been set in place because, well, we want to be first in the rankings, and we've achieved that. So now we've achieved that, we've got to move towards removing it and rewarding the entire BOINC community. There are technical difficulties in that, though. So some of the difficulties we've got are, well, basically we need to re-architect Gridcoin to a certain degree. We have had security researchers point out issues with Gridcoin recently, which we have patched several of the issues. There are some things remaining, like information in the blockchain that's disclosable. It's not brilliant. With regards to reliability, it's like mind how I said the stuff about the daily super block, right? That contains like the BOINC statistics and the BOINC projects. In the last couple months, projects were getting left out, or it was just not well formed. So the BOINC rewards were not being accurately tracked and basically falling apart, and we're basically falling back on just the proof of stake rewards, you know? So that's not desirable. People were upset, and it's got a bit better, but it's not solved. It kind of just patches over the problems, you know? It just does require solving a different way. And improved decentralization, you know, we basically have like master keys that control the whitelist, you know, so we have like a community vote, like do we want a new project in, and then Rob basically signs the project being in the whitelist. Likewise, you can use this master key to delete, you know, CPIDs off of the network. You know, if someone's stolen your CPID, that's a good thing, but on the downside, you know, this is centralization to a certain degree. It's not as bad as someone giving you the tokens directly. It's still decentralized issuance of like your rewards, but you know, there's inherent centralization. I mean, what if Rob got, you know, kidnapped, or if his plane went down, we'd be in trouble, you know? So with regards to scalability, this ties to the mandatory team requirements. So say if we just removed the team requirement now, and we had like a rough number, like 10,000 people run the BOINC client, the Gridcoin client, we would have a problem with, you know, politely scraping the statistics from BOINC project servers. We download the user XML, like GZ dump. If we had like 10,000 people try and download that on a daily basis or more, as an accidental DDoS to a certain degree. On small projects, it's only, you know, a couple megs, but for a set tier world community grade, it's hundreds of megs, you know, so that would be a problem. So how would we solve that is, you know, reducing the amount of people that are responsible for creating super blocks. So only like, you know, 50 people maybe would scrape that file rather than thousands of people, you know. With regards to the reward calculation accuracy, currently we base our rewards on recent average credit, RAC. So, you know, it's between the registration and block, and then blocks from then onwards, right? The problem with RAC is that it doesn't take into account peaks or troughs, you know, in your computation. So say you stake a block and you've got a large, you know, RAC, and then you do no computation for a while, and then you start your computation again and you stake another block. It will look like to our system that you've been crunching non-stop. So it's not brilliant. So the proposal is to take into account the difference in your total credit since the last time, you know, proportional to the difference in total credit for the team or for the entire community. That way, you know, we're accurately tracking how much computation you're doing, take into account peaks and troughs. It's more accurate, you know. So that's quite desirable. So yeah, if you want to see this stuff that we're developing, check out the GitHub wiki and the issues where, you know, we're arguing over what we're going to do, you know. A problem that we have is that similar to the BOINC, you know, email lists will have like large discussions that last months and then don't really have like a formal proposal that we're all agreeing on, you know. Perhaps there will be several proposals, but we do have an inbuilt voting mechanism, so you can vote for your balance and your BOINC, you know, RAC across all projects. So we do take into account like consensus in that manner for decisions. What I'm going to be focusing on in the workshop, you know, on the Friday Hack Day thing, aside from I'm going to be interested in the Docker stuff, you know, is potentially introducing a single one user data field to the profile. I initially created a pull request to add in like 35 cryptocurrency addresses. That was way overboard, and I primarily did that because you know, I had created the you know, I'd created it myself, you know, this BOINC mod basically, and I won a hackathon basically using this. So I was like, oh, I might as well do a pull request because, you know, otherwise it's just sitting and no one's ever going to use it. So it was pointed out that cryptocurrencies and virtual currencies code directly related to it is not allowed in, you know, the BOINC code base, you know, as, you know, stated by like the PMC. So you know, this is like a step back. There's not 35 different cryptocurrency addresses and stuff like that. You know, it's not naming it directly by fields. It's basically just a single field, user data. It's indirect to a certain degree. It's not like, you know, an endorsement by each of your projects for like 50 different cryptocurrencies, which ultimately don't know anything about BOINC, you know. So why would we want it? Oh, also, yeah, a minimized file dump. So rather than downloading like, you know, the full 200 megabyte file, what would be great is if when someone fills this user data field, it, you know, it populates in a new dump. So if no one fills it out, it's empty. That way we reduce the amount of data we're scraping. Hopefully that could help us out with the scalability and politeness of scraping in the future. So yeah, why do we want this, or why do I want this user data field? So it hopefully will enable us to prove CPID ownership. Currently we do like local checks, within the client to verify that you own that CPID, basically checking, are you logged in, is the email that you've provided in the configuration file that which makes up the email, the CPID, so and the rest of the network basically checks, is this correct, CPID, is this, are they in Team Gridcoin, and then they just assume it's correct, so, and there's also problems with, if when the beacon, basically your registration expires after 6 months, there's recently, back to security, someone pointed out that you can do a replay attack and potentially steal someone's CPID registration, so you start taking someone else's rewards. It's rare, it's every 6 months, and you'd have to get in before the other person re-registers, but it's a potential, attack vector. But yeah, it's not just for Gridcoin. I mean, Gridcoin's great, but there are, problems with like having to redesign it to a certain degree, and also, disagreements come about, and it'd be great if we would be able to split away and do our own separate projects for, cryptocurrency, for BOINC and stuff, and, having this field in a scrapable manner could mean that you don't need to run a full cryptocurrency network. You could just, go on Ethereum and like scrape all the Ethereum addresses and distribute a token that manner,
Is the scrapability is a unique part of this versus just like having the users put something in their like profile or something like that?
Well, yeah, we could do that. I mean, like, for folding at home, they have like Curecoin, and they require you to put in like a tag into your username. And I mean, we could do that, but it's not really professional, and it's also kind of impolite, basically spamming fields that aren't appropriate for that use, So yeah, hopefully if we have this field, we just have a space delimited, multiple addresses put in there, and it will increase competition against Gridcoin, which will spur on, innovation. And ideally what will happen is that for the one work unit that you complete, you'll get not just Gridcoin, it'll be many tokens in the future. So that's really the desirable outcome, ultimately offsetting electricity costs. So how do you find out more about Gridcoin? So our official gridcoin.us website, it's just been redesigned, looks pretty nice, did it myself. It's a central portal for all of our community links. We've got the official GitHub repo, Gridcoin research, and then we've created a community organization because we had many Gridcoin repos and problems with a single person being in charge of pull requests and committing and stuff. So hopefully this will help out with organization in the future. Yeah, likewise, our community, as I said earlier, it's split across like 20 different platforms. So we're on Steemit, which is like Reddit, but cryptocurrency oriented. We're on Reddit. This is our forum, where we're primarily located at, and we're on Slack, Telegram, Mumble, Discord, everything. You can get those links on the Gridcoin website. So yeah, that's it. Any questions about Gridcoin, or Yeah.
I have a question about you just said that you're basing the amount of Gridcoins you give out to the volunteers as based on REC, and you want to change that to
total credit.
Total credit. So not long ago we had an incident at Einstein at home where, for an unknown reason, and still unknown reason, we awarded a huge amount of credit for certain work units, and without any, we over-awarded credit.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find out the reason for that. It should not have happened, but apparently it did multiple times. And I as an administrator can also change the amount of credit everyone has on BOINC, whereas, there's clearly an attack vector. Question is, would a project do this, and would they mean, you couldn't give or you couldn't take the Gridcoins back. So if I have the Gridcoins, I don't care if you ditch the project afterwards. I got them already.
True. So there's a couple of things there. So I didn't specify the. Well, okay. So in terms of like total credit, it'd be the difference in total credit. So if this was like a one-off thing, you know, like suddenly there's a large spike in total credit, that wouldn't be like from then on that guy's getting 99% of the rewards. It'd be like, okay, you stake a block and you get like a huge reward or a large reward that one instance, and then from then on, you know, it's just the difference is less because hopefully the glitch goes down. But you're right that.
Sorry, small side question, not to distract, but is there a maximum reward you can get, or can you?
We distribute 50,000 Gridcoin a day between all projects.
Yes, so they just got 10 bajillion credits. Would their reward be every Gridcoin? No. There's a max.
Yeah, there is like a max we output, you know. So project administrators do have a centralized risk. You could go in and start modifying the statistics directly, and you know, say you created like 10 accounts and gave it like a small amount of credit for each of them. That'd fly by unnoticed, you know. So if you want to do that, shit, yeah, what can we do, you know? Ultimately, if it is discovered that the project admins have corrupted the system to a certain degree, we can vote the project out, and then it's going to be difficult to get voted back in because people are going to remember that, you know. But ultimately, difficult to prove, you know. But with regards to how rewards are distributed amongst the projects, I actually missed this out of the presentation. We distribute 50,000 Gridcoin a day amongst all the projects, you know, so equally we reward the project. So, you know, a brand new project of only like 100 people running it is distributed in the same amount of Gridcoin as like World Community Grid. So all projects are treated equally. So with regards to the amount that you could earn in the one go, you know, when we go over the 50,000 a day, we've got this like magnitude calculation that will reduce the amount of rewards that you'll get. So, you know, you'll get a smaller amount when you stake, when more than 50,000 are released in a single day. Did I miss anything? Any other questions?
Following on really on the rack question, neglecting accidental problems like Christian has just said, does it concern you that although there is a formal definition of credit in terms of flops crunched in BOINC projects, there's a huge disparity at the moment in the amount of credit awarded, which appears in both total credit and in rack, by the different BOINC projects. Looking at my own statistics, I can see that I participated in SETI Germany's WOW event last month and got up to highest rack of about 125,000. With the same kit, now that I'm back to my normal crunching, I'm getting 1.5 million.
Yeah.
It's a different project with the same kit. So even though I'm doing the same flops, my rack, which is supposed to reflect flops, doesn't.
Yeah, true.
And does that concern you, and are you doing anything about it?
Well, because we reward projects on an individual basis, you know, and equally, one project rewarding 1 million credits and another rewarding only like 1 credit doesn't matter. I mean, it's contained within their own project, you know, so it's proportional to one another, what you're getting rewarded. I mean, it is a bit annoying that, like, you know, say Bitcoin Utopia is rewarding 1 billion credits, you know, a second or something like that. Ultimately, I think it does come to put it up on the wall that the credit system is kind of, it's quite old, and a lot of people create a homebrew version of the credit system on an individual project basis, you know, and I created a thread in the BOINC forums, you know, titled like a 4th generation credit system, and it got like 3 pages of discussion. Some people being like, Gridcoin sucks, and other people being, you know, like, yeah, we've been asking for this, and there's some really good answers. I think it's worth reading, at least if you have created your own credit system. You know, I think a unified credit mechanism would be quite decent, or at least an upgraded version, so that, or like a template, you know, rather than having everyone create their own homebrew, you know, credit rate or system.
I would echo that final point. There is, I think, a scientific problem here, because when on the BOINC front page, BOINC reports total flops of the BOINC community, and it does it by reverse engineering from the rack.
Yeah.
If the rack is suspect, then the claim of total flops for distributed computing
Yeah.
is also suspect.
Yeah.
And if you're going to funders, as I know David does, and says our community does this much work, I think that the figure is dubious.
It's not accurate. What would be brilliant on the topic of credit is if like you could benchmark your computer's ability to like hit a button and it would tell you how much credit you could potentially earn on an individual project basis. That way we'd have a lot more users actually attempting to run BOINC, in a profitability sense. I mean, if you're doing proof of work, you're going to be like, oh, okay, my graphics card can do 100 mega hashes or whatever. So you can work out a return on investment and stuff. Whereas with BOINC, you have to run an individual project for like 2 weeks to build up a rack before you can be like, okay, what's my potential earning capacity and what's my return on investment on equipment, and you have to really look up what other people have managed to get credit-wise with the similar systems, and that's difficult because there's different work being distributed. There's potentially people messing with the credit system in a cheating manner, but and also people hide their hosts. So
for anybody who's interested in benchmarking, you should speak to Eric.
Yeah.
Eric, you know about benchmarking, don't you?
A little bit.
Go.
Sorry, I missed it.
Oh, I was just basically saying, like, it'd be cool if the within the BOINC client, if you could like benchmark how much rack you could get on an individual project basis, so that more people could, ahead of crunching, work out their profitability for Gridcoin or similar BOINC-based cryptocurrencies. Because if you're going to invest serious money into like a hardware, you need to know it ahead of time if it's actually feasible and stuff.
So this kind of benchmarking and cost and standardization is a well understood problem that still hasn't in a way been solved. I mentioned Eric, when did you start doing benchmarking?
In the 70s.
Yeah. So
We still have the
and
old
in
seat.
fact, so I went to see Eric 2 years ago to talk to him about benchmarking because we were doing benchmarking for procuring cloud resources.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea of money and measuring performance is a well understood problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree that it's not necessarily easy because you have to kind of trying to ascertain value for money is always difficult because of course you have physical the physical performance of the CPU which you can measure, but then you have how does that relate to your application performance.
Yeah.
And I think things like Credit New, they try to give credit more on how your application performs rather than the pure physical metrics of the processor.
Mm.
But when it comes to procurement, then you're basically buying wall time on the standardized thing, which is almost like the kilogram in Paris. It's just some arbitrary thing that they decided to call this is a standard compute unit.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be cool if there was like an equivalent, megahertz or mega hashes per second for BOINC, but it's a difficult problem.
Yeah, but I mean, I think one of the difficulties I see is that all the things that you're building on is a weak foundation.
Yeah.
So you're making an assumption that the credit is something. So in all this stuff, the key word is trust.
Yeah.
You trust the project, you trust we're not doing anything wrong, and you're trusting the credit system.
Yeah.
And I think that trust is misplaced. Because, we've seen internally what's going on with credit and how, for us, it's just some black magic that we don't really understand. Random things happen, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily. I have some concerns about Gridcoin. We can talk about it later.
Totally.
But I think that the key thing here is I think less about Gridcoin. I mean, this is great that you're doing that stuff, and it's good that if we could work together. But I see the key thing being the credit system, and this is something where I think we can improve.
Yeah, certainly. I fully agree. It'd be good to reopen that.
And if you provide the pressure, the motivation, and maybe even effort
Yeah.
to look into this issue,
Yeah, certainly.
To me, I totally agree about the concerns, but the credit part seems very solvable in some sense. I mean, I don't know, even just now sitting here, just as an idea, I thought, the Gridcoin network could just periodically run test jobs from different projects and see how much credit they got compared internally to, I don't know, something like that. It seems plausible, right? But I feel like the problem of an Eagle, that one seems harder.
Yeah, I mean, this is something, unless you completely redesign BOINC to be some kind of super secure thing where, sysadmins can't edit things. I mean, but at the end of the day, you do have the one weekly link as the guy with the key, and you have to trust these guys. And as you said, there's reputational risk of the organisations. In many cases, this is strong enough. I mean, coming to the well-established projects, you're pretty sure that these.
It is a risk for new projects. Someone could create a project, looks real, and they distribute work out, but there are some things going on in the background. They're rewarding themselves, but as you say,
and we have internally had a number of, I almost go to say, security issues related to Gridcoin.
Yeah. But related to botnets and stuff like that.
Sorry.
Related to like botnets and stuff.
Yeah, similar things that people. It from a sociological point of view, it changes people's motivations and mindsets, and it encourages people to behave in a way that is not in line with our organisation. Let's put it that way.
True.
So we have had a few issues related to this, and which again we can talk about.
Yeah, totally. I've talked about that too.
I don't necessarily see this being again a fundamental thing wrong with Gridcoin because, but I think it does raise some concern. Another thing which somebody pointed out to me, they went to your website and within 2 clicks they were at a marketplace which was offering drugs for sale. And again, this is not something that we would want to be associated with, but there again you can also buy drugs in euros. So it's not something necessarily wrong with the concept, but we have to be a bit careful. And I think this is one of the reasons why we don't necessarily want to endorse this, because that it does bring quite a lot of risk for us reputationally, but I don't think we should necessarily stand in the way of innovation.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't like Gridcoin, rewarding users, just say something and we can remove it from the whitelist, and we can stop rewarding individual projects, it's not a problem. That can happen within an hour or something like that. It does change people's mentality. I mean, the thing is that 99.5% of the BOINC community do it entirely for free still. It's a very, very small amount of users that are in Team Gridcoin that do it for money, People have cheated in the past and done malicious stuff purely based on, the leaderboard. And, likewise, botnets have been around because, they didn't want to maybe distribute malware in a worse way. I don't know, it's a terrible way of putting it. But we've definitely got a problem with at least one botnet that's jumping about the place, which kind of sucks. So distributing it through game cracks, so it's messed up. Any other questions?
There is a difference between cheating for getting Gridcoin and cheating to get a higher place in the leaderboard. Because if you just cheat to get a higher place, the credit might get removed if the project administrator is responding to it.
But I think the other thing is this shifts it into a different legal framework. So again, I mean, somebody trying to get behind a leaderboard is naughty. Somebody doing this to create money is fraud. Okay?
Yeah.
So this takes the so if somebody is using resources that for that reason, this changes the consequences of this from being a slap in the wrist, don't do that, to being some kind of legal procedure.
Yeah.
against them. So that it does, and then you get, you know, again, when you get into giving people real money and transactions, this puts you in a different policy framework. And so I think this is one of the reasons why we should, or would like to stay away from that.
Yeah.
It does bring an awful lot of complexity. But again, if we can create a well-defined boundary, then it should be okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if the project administrator was distributing out the rewards themselves, then you'd have to consider your volunteers as workers probably and give them rights, you know, whereas right now it's external, they're still volunteers to yourself. In terms of, you know, if they're cheating to get money, that turns into fraud, you know. We can, you know, kick these users out at the moment, you know, from the Gridcoin network to a certain degree. We raise their CPID, we get, you know, them banned from projects, but we're not going to press charges against, you know, these people because you know, I am not Gridcoin, you know, and there is no Gridcoin entity, you know. Yeah, it's tough, definitely. But again, you can opt out if you don't like it. Yeah, I'm sorry if it brings attacks to your projects and stuff, which. You know.
All right, good discussion. I think we should move on for right now.
Sounds good.